We've got a critical SNAP program update that demands your attention right now. Despite learning just last week that millions of Americans would receive their complete November food stamp payments, serious questions are emerging about future benefit amounts. Here's why: according to the USDA leadership, every single person on SNAP will need to reapply. This means individuals receiving more than they're entitled to might see reductions. Those not getting their full eligible amount could see increases. And if this moves forward, we're going to uncover widespread fraud in the system. Let me share something important with you. Check this out. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced Thursday that the Trump administration plans to require all Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program beneficiaries to reapply for the program due to alleged fraud. The secretary revealed that after examining data on SNAP recipients from 29 Republican-led states, they discovered 186,000 deceased men, women, and children in this country are still receiving payments. Think about that: 186,000 deceased individuals are getting food stamp benefits. And that's just in red states. Listen to her follow-up statement. Can you imagine when we get our hands on the blue state data what we're going to find if red states are sending out checks to 186,000 people that are deceased? She's essentially suggesting that Democratic states will likely reveal numbers that make this figure look small by comparison. She continues, "It's going to give us a platform and a trajectory to fundamentally rebuild this program, have everyone reapply for their benefit, make sure that everyone that's taking a taxpayer-funded benefit through SNAP or food stamps that they literally are vulnerable and they can't survive without it." This aligns with what the Trump administration has consistently stated. Even during his first term, he emphasized we should only provide benefits to those who absolutely need them and cannot survive without them. Now it appears that policy is finally arriving. But what type of fraud are they actually referring to? Here's what one analyst explained. Thanks for having me on. So it's not 100% clear exactly what the secretary is planning to do yet. We haven't heard back from USDA when we sent them an email to request more details, because SNAP participants are already required to recertify their application information every 6 to 12 months. Remember, SNAP beneficiaries are supposed to recertify every 6 to 12 months depending on their state. Here's the issue: in certain states, the recertification process when you reapply is actually quite straightforward and simple. It's not very thorough. There's minimal review involved. You just reapply and receive your benefits almost automatically. They want to eliminate that system where everybody needs a human reviewer to ensure responsibility so the state can verify we're only distributing money to people who absolutely need it. Keep in mind, the Trump administration plans to penalize any state whose error rate climbs too high. That's definitely happening. The Trump administration is firm on that point as well. So we'll see what develops there. But again, as this person mentioned, we don't know precisely what Secretary Rollins is going to implement. We don't know the timeline, but according to multiple reports since Thursday, this is definitely happening. They're just arranging the pieces first. One report indicates this likely won't happen until we're certain the government won't shut down again. Meaning after January 31 come February 1, if the government shuts down, we'll have to address that issue. But if the government remains open and we have complete funding for all of fiscal 2026, then it could happen as early as February. But we don't know for certain yet. The analyst continued, and they're also required to update work history, income, etc. to make sure that they're still qualifying for SNAP along the way or they'll get kicked off the program. So a lot of the fraud that Republicans, including Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, are talking about is cracking down on folks receiving SNAP who aren't working, or what Secretary Rollins has said is she wants to make sure, and the president said earlier this week, is that the administration wants to make sure that the folks who are receiving SNAP benefits are those who truly need it, in their words. So Republicans have already sought to crack down on error payments which are just miscalculations from SNAP administrators, etc. So we have to stay tuned and figure out exactly what the department is planning on. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's where many people are skeptical: how exactly is this going to work? This is one reason why. Let me show you this quickly. It says, White House announces South American food trade deals to try to lower some food prices. The countries involved are Argentina, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Ecuador. Hopefully, this will provide relief for bananas, avocados, coffee, meat, and similar items. But here's the reason: according to reports, the Trump administration is pursuing this. They're trying to find ways to lower the prices of items that SNAP beneficiaries purchase most frequently, excluding candy, sodas, and junk foods that many states have already banned. But if the Trump administration is going to reduce benefits from certain households or completely eliminate benefits for many households, then we need to lower food prices rather than allowing them to keep rising. I've said this before: if the Trump administration lowers food prices by reducing or eliminating tariffs on those items from certain countries, that's excellent. It will bring food prices down, which will help millions of SNAP beneficiaries. Because remember, you receive a specific dollar amount. You don't get a specific amount of food, you get a dollar amount. So if your dollar amount stretches further, that benefits more SNAP beneficiaries. Additionally, if people are getting removed from the program or seeing their monthly benefit amount reduced, this means their dollar amount will still stretch further. That's the positive news there. I also mentioned this recently: the problem with reducing tariffs is that President Trump is simultaneously promising and proposing a $2,000 tariff dividend check. But many economists say the math simply doesn't work, because if we reduce tariff revenue yet we don't currently have sufficient funds, how are we going to distribute about $300 billion to the American people in a one-time payment? It just won't work. The math doesn't add up. So I said this recently: there's a strong possibility the Trump administration will return to some countries and increase their tariff amounts, because we're currently reducing the tariff amount for food in certain countries like Argentina, El Salvador, Ecuador, and Guatemala. But this is just the beginning. Let me show you something. Right here it says, food stamps are back, but millions will soon lose benefits permanently. This is because Republicans are going to crack down on fraud. They know fraud exists in the system. They just don't know exactly where it is and how much it actually totals each year. Let me read something to you. It says right here, federal officials and GOP lawmakers have been determined to show they're taking wasteful spending seriously after months of work to reduce spending through DOGE. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed into law in July, implemented a $186 billion slash to SNAP benefits, and included new work requirements and other restrictions on who receives benefits, the biggest overhaul of the food aid program to date. And yet some say that's just the start, because this is going to open the door to slash the program even further. It continues: people keep talking about SNAP, but SNAP is supposed to be if you're down and out. That's what President Trump stated. He said, the number is many times what it should be. It really puts the country in jeopardy. People that need it have to get it. I'm all for it. But people who are able-bodied can do a job. They leave their job because they figure they can pick this up. It's easier. That's not the purpose of it. With that said, I actually had a comment from a while back, and I want to share this with you because what this person said is interesting. This person says, and I quote, "I used to be 100% reliant on SNAP. I grew up in a household that relied on food stamps my entire life, so I didn't know anything else. But earlier this year, I got my SNAP benefits reduced. Of course, I was initially quite upset about it and didn't understand why they would do that. But then, as I continued to use my card, I realized that I didn't need it as much as I thought. Once my review came up, I simply declined my benefits. And ever since then, I have been doing just fine. I do it on my own. Yes, groceries are more expensive, but if you budget correctly, then it's doable. If I can do it, so can others." So this person is essentially saying, you know what, I was approved for SNAP benefits. I received some. My benefits got reduced. That was frustrating, but I can still live. My guess, based on reading this and some of the words this person is using, I don't know if it's male or female, but based on the vocabulary they're using, my guess is they're highly educated. Some of the words they're using suggest this. So it's interesting that this is happening right now because people who are highly educated, went to college, maybe have a degree, are still able to qualify for SNAP benefits based on their lifestyle, their history, their income, everything. And so what the Trump administration is saying and what Secretary Rollins is saying is everyone is going to have to reapply for SNAP benefits. This is what the USDA is saying. So currently, if you're receiving SNAP benefits, just understand if you're doing very well, you have a stable job, you don't have high expenses, you have a small family, you may not receive the benefits you're currently getting. Just keep that in mind. I wanted to give you this warning and I wanted you to hear it here first before you start seeing all those news reports saying your benefits are going to zero very soon. If you have any questions on this, let me know. You can always ask your questions down in the comments section below or just stick around. Make sure you subscribe and wait because this just came out last week. We're going to start seeing more updates on it, my guess is over the next couple of months. And as we do, and as I always promise, I'll keep you updated on everything that's happening. So thank you for watching.